800-245-0823. Call right now. That number again is 800-245-0823.
Never Forgotten Apparel is more than just a premium women's and men's clothing line. It's a movement to remind us to wear American-made and serve those who serve us. Our heroes. Never Forgotten Apparel gives 20% of their total sales to nonprofits that support homeless veterans and off-duty firefighters, and 50% to individual veterans and firefighters in need nationwide. Check out neverforgottenapparel.com. Use promo code MATT, M-A-T-T, and get 15% off your purchase.
Well, hey, folks, this is Chef Patrick Mosher, the Food Biz Pro. It's Friday. Happy freaking Friday. And in the tradition of our Beer for Breakfast Friday over on our sister channel over there, Matlock, I am having a little Black Butte Porter, not Black Butt Porter, Black Butte Porter from Deschutes Brewery up in Bend, Oregon. Man, that is really nice. It's not too chocolatey, not too stout for me, and at least I'm consistent. 5 days in a row, which is actually probably like 23 days in a row. Well, there was one day I made it, but 5 days in a row this week, I have once again failed to share the video to my own homepage. I am that, I don't want to say pathetic. Look, I'm just, it happens. It's not my priority. But anyway, it's up now. Go watch. Beer for breakfast. I'm glad we thought of that. It's more like, it's not beer for breakfast anymore. It's more like boozy brunch because Matlock's time slot changed to, I think he's on from like 11 to 2 now. So I don't go on till 11:30 to noon because I have to have a little bit of show prep time and time to sober up after drinking on his show. So, yep, Beer for Breakfast Friday. If you haven't tuned in on Mojo 50, it's may not be your channel, but if you tune in 11:30 to 12 Central, it's definitely fun for everybody. We talk food, drink beer, and we're going to move that show. We're going to keep that show there. We've got another show coming up. I think we're going to launch next Wednesday evening. It'll be on either 6 p.m. Central, 7 Eastern, or 7 Central, 8 Eastern. It'll go for an hour. It'll be 4 of us sitting around the table. More than likely, 4 grown men acting like teenagers, drinking beer, whatever cocktail or beverage, spirit we decide to drink. One of us will probably be hungover at one point or the other, and we'll want to be drinking water. So, all right, tune in next week. I don't know what the name of the show is going to be called, but we'll figure it out. And on Monday, don't forget, hopefully, if I get everything in line and producer Ron says it's a go, Randy White will be launching his show, Into the Fire. It's going to be a great show. Randy's cool. He's just a great guy. He's competed at the World Food Championships. He's an IT guru, engineer, kind of a jack of all trades, and an amazing chef and a great storyteller. Got lots of friends in the industry. It's going to be a great show. Man, there's so much going on. If you missed it this morning, a couple hours ago, which it was on 10 to 11 Central, Trey Chapman's Chow Down Live was a great show. He had Chef Michael Thompson on of Michael's Cuisine. Restaurant's been around 27 years. The guy's got an amazing story. Amazing story. Trey was in an interesting role this morning. Typically, there's a lot of interaction. He gets to talk a lot. Today, got to sit back, be a fan, and just, be an active listener. Michael's got a great story to tell. If you've never heard it, you've never heard of Michael's Fine Cuisine, look it up. I think it's michaelscuisine.com. And he's local here in Fort Worth. It's great. And if you haven't seen Trey's chat on, it's on 10 to 11 on Fridays, live here on Spoony Radio. It's that's noon to 1 or 9, 11 to noon East Coast. I have a hard time with time zones. Can't we just all not change times? I know we can't be the same time across the country, but at least not change. I have a hard time doing simple math. We were talking about this story in the news this morning between it's a feud that's been brewing between Coors and Bud Light. So it's been going on for a while, and during the Super Bowl, actually, I guess it started around Super Bowl time this year. Bud Light actually, so Coors is brewed in the Boulder. I mean not Boulder. It's the it's right there in Colorado. It's right outside of Denver. Anyway, I'll think of it in a second. But their brewery has these in the area near there on the highway. There's these huge electronic billboards. So during the leading up to the Super Bowl and during the Super Bowl, they put up these ads. Bud Light did, saying that Coors Light and Miller Light have corn syrup in their beer, which they do. They don't deny it. But anyway, so they put up these three signs, right? So the first one says, let's see, Coors Light uses corn syrup. Bud Light, we don't. And then the next one says 100% less corn syrup than Coors Light. So Miller Coors actually filed a lawsuit against Anheuser-Busch, calling the ads false and misleading. Anheuser-Busch is fear-mongering, they said, over a common beer ingredient it uses in many of its own beers as a fermentation aid is not even present that's not even present in the final product. So as a fermentation, I'm sure it acts as the sugar for the yeast in the beer. This deliberate deception is bad for the entire beer category. We are showing the world the truth. So anyway, Miller Coors has called the marketing a marketing ploy, which is not working, pointing to a decline in sales for Bud Light. Anyway, so they actually fired back because Bud Light has the dilly dilly, the whole Castle commercials, and they this is brilliant. I love when there are feuds between companies because they get very creative. What they did is they basically filmed a commercial of filming a commercial where the knights and the king and the court, they're all saying dilly dilly blah blah, and then they walk off and they're knights and prisoners, they walk off the set and then they open up they have a Coors Light. It's awesome. Anyway, if you haven't seen them, look them up. I'm sure they're on YouTube. This was on foxnews.com. I'm sure it's probably on the Daily Brewer, things like that. A couple of other beer stories. Since it's Friday, who wants to get too serious about food? Look, being from upstate New York, Buffalo, and not surprisingly, is getting one of the biggest beer festivals in the country. This is called it's just the festival. It's put on by the Shelton brothers. I think it's the 8th annual. It's been on for a long time, but it's October 4th and 5th, and this is probably, if not the largest, it may be the premier beer festival in the country. So look for that. It's taking place in Los Angeles, Denver, Louisville. It's usually pretty big. So I'm really curious to see. Hey, it's a great boost for Buffalo, Rochester, that whole region. I love that area. It's so beautiful on the lake there. Rochester is one of the coolest towns ever. Matter of fact, Kevin McCann, if you're listening up there, cheers to you, McCann's Local Meats. Man, this guy's such a rock star. I really want him to do a show, and I know he's so busy. I'd like him to at least be a regular contributor. But he has got this butcher shop that's amazing, and they do food. They serve food there as well, cooked food and hot food. Like I think ramen is Tuesdays. They have a new dish every day, kind of one day of the week or each day of the week. They consistently serve a different type of food, but they also have a consistent menu. But what I love is their butchery is actually open behind the counter. So when you walk in, there's this L-shaped bar. There's a little L. There's like an aging room for their cured meats, for their charcuterie, that's back kind of almost behind you as you walk in. But then if you came out of that room, there's behind the counter is a big butchery table. There are actually 2 or 3 tables there. And when they bring in these whole sides of beef, they actually break them down right there on those tables. It's fantastic. Kevin McCann is an amazing butcher. He's actually going to represent the U.S. here pretty soon. It's at the World Butcher Championships. I'll look it up in just a second. But what a fantastic shop. Everything they have is whole animal that comes within 50 miles of their shop. So it's all hyper local, all natural, amazing stuff. And their counter, they have this deli counter. It's not your typical like bologna and mortadella and just salami. They have like smoked beef tongue. Yeah, I know, I really good. But smoked beef tongue, it's actually delicious. If you've never had beef tongue and they slice it paper thin, it's fantastic. It's very tender. It's very fatty, actually. Man, there's so much good stuff that they have there. They have smoked duck prosciutto. They have. I have to go back and look at the video I took when I was there. I did like an hour's worth of live video feed. I guess it was a little over, was it 2 years ago maybe? I think it was 2 years ago this month. And it was fantastic. It was such a good trip. Kevin is a great, great entertainer, a great host. You'd think he like studied theater arts or something like that before he went to the Culinary Institute of America, but who knows? Yeah, he did actually. Anyway, so Buffalo, that's going to be later this year. On top of that, in Rochester, if you've never been to that region, Kodak was based in Rochester, and they have a big museum there, the Kodak Museum. And I'd never been there. I'd never been there until 2 years ago when I went to meet Kevin and some other interesting people in the area. It's amazing. The history of the Kodak company is just fascinating. And so I went through the museum, but then I just came. But Kodak, the company itself, is kind of gone. There's not much of the company left. I don't even know what they manufacture anymore. I should have looked that up. But they become the inspiration for Dogfish Head to create this new beer. Dogfish Head is a brewery out of Maryland. I'm trying to think of the city, but it's a great brewery. They've been around for a long time. They have some of the best craft brewers around, and it's fairly large actually. But they're coming up with this new Dogfish Head. It's a Super Ghost, which is called Super 8, and it was born out of a conversation with the people at Kodak. The beer is a red Super Ghost, described as slightly tart, super refreshing, and sessionable. I don't know, session, whatever. With flavors of prickly pear. Ooh, prickly pear is awesome if you've never had prickly pear fruit. Blackberry, elderberry, mango, boysenberry, raspberry, kiwi juices, Hawaiian sea salt, and quinoa. Okay, you can take the quinoa out because quinoa smells worse than asparagus sometimes. I don't know why you need that as part of the flavor. But that's like a party in your mouth there. Prickly pear, blackberry, elderberry, mango, boysenberry, raspberry, kiwi juice. I mean, that's kind of like, and Hawaiian sea salt. I'm going to skip the quinoa. I don't want to know that flavor's there. I don't. But that's kind of like the old McDonald's thing. What is it? 2 all-beef patties, lettuce sauce, pickle sauce, lettuce, cheese, 2 all-beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onion, sesame seed bun. Yeah. I mean, it's almost that many ingredients. Apparently, it's going to roll out nationally in 6-packs of 12-ounce cans in early April. They were discussing film and beer with a group of people at Kodak, and the founder and CEO of Dogfish Head Craft Brewery, Sam Caglione, learned that the heightened levels of acidity and vitamin C in certain beers create ideal conditions for film processing. So early batches of the beer were sent to Kodak to begin development. After some testing was completed, it proved true that this particular beer can serve as a film developer, so the solution that you put the film in. So they'll be documenting his travels this summer. Caglione travels this summer on Super 8 film from Kodak and will develop it in the beer to create a short film. Kodak and Dogfish Head have more information about the project. Oh, okay. Anyway, you can go to, that's on Fox Rochester. Let's see, the link is... Open. It's on. Yeah, no. If you just go to Kodak.com, and then it talks about the creative chemistry of Kodak plus Dogfish Head Craft Brewery, and it talks about the other. That's pretty dang cool. All right, we're going to close that one out. That's done. I spoke up, I think it was about 6 or 8 weeks ago. Might have been, maybe a little longer ago than that, almost. Yeah, maybe it was. I don't remember. Recently, though, there was a shipwreck that they'd found. I believe it was off the coast of Long Island. I'm going to make sure this is the same one. Yes. Okay. So they retrieved bottles of beer from a 131-year-old shipwreck off the coast of Long Island, and the divers dug down 15 feet in the seabed to gain access to the ship's dining room, and then they retrieved these bottles of beer, and a few people. What's the name of the brewery on Long Island? Anyway, I can't remember the name of the brewery. He actually a St. James brewery. That's right, in Long Island. And Mr. Adams, he's the head brewer. He's the head of the brewery. They actually tasted it. He and some of the students from SUNY, State University of New York, they tasted the beer, and they determined that it was an ale, but there was something special about it. There was something special about it. I don't remember what it was, but I need to find out here, because this is what's cool is they took one sip of it, and then they were able to determine what kind of yeast it was. So they took this yeast, right, and they grew more yeast, and then they're using that yeast now to create a new beer to mimic the one that they found. So it's got hops, malted barley, and the yeast. That's pretty much it. this is from the SS. Oh, that's right. It's from the SS Oregon, and it's the lineage is used by. Oh, so this lineage of the yeast that's used is from the lineage used by Bass brewers in England to make a brand called King's Ale, which is no longer produced. Now, if you don't know what Bass is, Bass Ale, it's got a triangle on the bottle. That's I believe it was the first trademark ever. I know it was the first one out of the UK. Anyway, the new beer, which has a slightly fruity taste with a hoppy finish, is a replication of what would have been served on that ship in 1886. We want people to have a small taste of what life was like as a passenger on this ship. So anyway, it'll be interesting to see how that turns out. I do not know when it's going to be released, but I will send out a link to that. And it's going to be called Deep Ascent Ale. And they're going to they debuted it last week at a festival in Long Island. Interesting. I mean, it sounds. I can't believe they can take a yeast that went to the bottom of the ocean 100 and how many years? So 1886, 160 years ago. And they can recreate the beer from that. That's crazy. 1886, not 136 years. Or 186. Anyway, it's a long damn time to recreate the yeast. It's crazy. All right. Next, yeast is really a fascinating thing. All right. I have something interesting to talk about. If you've ever made a sourdough starter, right? That starter is you have a yeast, you have some sort of medium like flour, right? That creates the gluten in the starter, but then you have to feed it sugar or something, right? And then you let it ferment, and that fermentation process is what gives each particular baker's starter a very unique flavor and profile. And it's determined, the yeast is really what it's about, and whatever sugar you feed it and how long it eats. You can't let it die, though. But if you need to travel with it, I mean, there's a way to actually dry out your sourdough starter and then rehydrate it and bring it back to life. I'm not going to give you the method now, but in cold regions like Alaska, things like that, if you want to carry a starter with you, you can't carry the starter live, like hydrated. It's just too bulky, and if it gets cold, it freezes. That will kill it. But when you dry it out, it's fine. It's a very interesting process. I had a very interesting experience in Aspen, Colorado, a long time ago when I lived there. We were building and opening up the restaurant Matsuhisa, Nobu's his original restaurant, his flagship restaurant, the original of which is based in Beverly Hills. It's on La Cienega Boulevard, La Cienega or Wilshire? I think it's on Wilshire. Anyway, it's Wilshire Boulevard just off of La Cienega? I don't know. Whatever one dead ends into the hills as you go north into Sunset Boulevard, right where what is it? The place where John Belushi OD'd, the restaurant there. Anyway, it's got a little Vietnamese restaurant and this cool bar there. The Montmartre Hotel, bar and hotel. But as you go down the hill, then you go by Beverly Center, and Matsuhisa's there on the right. It's been there for a long time. And then this great restaurant called the Stinking Rose, which is a garlic-based restaurant, is just down the street past that. And the original Beverly Hills Benihana's is across the street, or used to be. There's what was I talking about? Oh, I was living in Aspen. Jeez. I tried to get my business partner, Jeffrey Klein, to call in today because he's driving. He's got another 10-hour drive. He just left Montana. He's driving towards Vegas. And I'm like, dude, give a call. And he's like, no, I'm driving. I need to focus. But this kind of brought this to mind. While we were up there opening the restaurant, Nancy Silverton, who's an amazing, amazing baker, she had opened this restaurant called the La Brea Bakery on La Brea in L.A., and she put together the La Brea Bakery cookbook, and it was all about the breads and mostly breads. I don't think there were too many pastries in there. From what I remember is all the breads that they had at that bakery. And that bakery, they expanded it over time, and they kept adding new facets to the food and evolving, and it's amazing. It closed, but if you go to your local grocery store, you can probably find the par-baked La Brea Bakery breads at almost any major chain. Anyway, so I get the cookbook, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to recreate some of the sourdough that she made and some of these other great breads. And I didn't take a few things into consideration. I started this process in the middle of winter, and finding a warm enough place for the yeast to stay active and and grow and start to ferment and get this starter going was very difficult. It was a small apartment. It wasn't poorly insulated, but for that cold winter, I mean, you can always kind of feel the cold radiating through the walls. So it was very difficult to find a place warm enough for that to kind of grow. And then the places I found that were cool enough for it to slow down and retard the fermentation process, or because I had to go to work, were really cold. And sometimes it got cold enough in the room to kill off the yeast. So I had to do it several times. Then she doesn't add yeast to the product. It's just a natural yeast that exists on whatever you use as the sugar to feed the yeast. So in my case, I tried to make this starter. I did make this starter, which was it used grapes. So the grapes had just enough yeast on the outside to actually start the culture, and then enough sugar in the grapes. You just kind of crush them up and you put them in the starter, and that's how the whole thing begins. Well, the problem is there's not a lot of yeast on the outside of those grapes, and there wasn't a place like a Whole Foods, so finding an organic product that would have enough yeast left on the outside. Anyway, it was a painstaking process. It took me about 5 weeks to get the starter finally dialed in. It ended up being fantastic. The bread was amazing, but there's another thing I didn't take into account. You're at altitude, so the process of allowing the bread to rise before you bake it, long and arduous. And now I know why there were no real artisan bakeries in Aspen. There was a Main Street bakery, which is actually where Jeffrey and I did most of our business while we were waiting for Matsuhisa to be constructed. That whole project was a very interesting project. The location where we wanted to put the restaurant was a house, an old house, which was on the historical register. So we couldn't actually modify the structure. So what we decided to do was build underneath. We're going to have to build down anyway. So what Jeffrey Klein, being the brilliant man he is, and thinking outside the box, actually lifted the house, the whole thing, moved it across the road, dug down 20-something feet, dug this pit, shored it up, poured the walls, built the support for the house, and then put it back on top. Literally lifted the house up, dug underneath, like a floor and a half, and then put the home back on top. It's amazing. It's a beautiful restaurant. If you ever go to Aspen, the whole entire upstairs is now part of that restaurant, but it's a fantastic restaurant. The partners there are great. Nobuko Kang, Jeffrey's former partner, fantastic people. And Nobu is a different experience. Matsuhisa is a different experience from Nobu, because Nobuyuki Matsuhisa, Matsuhisa being his last name, is the proprietor, and I believe he has full ownership of all of those restaurants. So he has a little more control in there. Not that his partnership with the other guys, Drew Neaporent and Robert De Niro and all those guys, didn't do really well with Nobu. I mean, they're all over the world, and they have Nobu hotels, and they're inside of Caesar's Palace. They have their own hotel inside of Caesar's. It's pretty cool. But it's the menu's just it's excellent. That particular restaurant, I think, has some of the best food in all of his restaurants. And I'm not just being biased. Well, okay, maybe I am because I opened the restaurant as the chef, but the food is freaking excellent. So anyway, let's see. I don't really have enough time for another story. I should keeping it casual today. It's Friday. Everybody's ready for the weekend. Most people in this area have been on spring break either this week or last week, so kids are getting ready to go back to school on Monday, or they've been in school, so they're tired out. The parents are relieved they're back in school, so they're re-energized. But, we're just going to talk a little light fun today. And don't forget, we have What Are We Drinking Friday? What Are We Drinking Saturday? With Cheryl Heiser. She's going to be calling in at the bottom of the second hour. And I actually have an interesting question for her about wine. There's something I just came across that I have never heard of before, and I haven't heard it all, but I've heard a lot about wine. I've read a lot about wine, and I've certainly drank a lot of wine. So that should be an interesting conversation in and of itself after we talk about What We're Drinking Friday. But coming up in the next half hour, we're going to, let's see, there's another craft brew fest. Oh, there's one actually coming up in Denver soon. There's one not this weekend, but next weekend here in Dallas. We'll talk about that. We got another recall from chicken, so I have a public service announcement there. Yeah. Oh, we got a couple other really interesting stories. There's one from Serious Eats That's the one I got to talk to Cheryl about. I can't talk about that one yet, but we'll get to that in a minute. Anyway, please stay tuned. Chef Patrick Mosher, the Food Biz Pro. Man, we have, as of Monday, our 14th or 15th show launching, and that will actually bring us up to 4 live shows on Spoony per week. Of course, I'm the only one that's daily, and it's 2 hours daily. Wow. Y'all get tired of listening to me? I hope not. Anyway, come back. We'll be back in about 2 minutes. Chef Patrick Mosher, more food, fun, culture, travel, and, yeah, farts and wine. We're going to talk about that at the bottom of the second hour. That's right, farts and wine. Be right back.
Follow Chef Patrick Mosher on Twitter @FoodBizPro.
Have you done it? You catch a glimpse of yourself in the mirror?
I'm one of those people you don't want to see naked.
Yeah, most of us. But I mean, you look and you're going, what the?
I know.
How did I get to whatever?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, it's horrible. Hey there, it's Doc Thompson and Brad Staggs to tell you about a different way to shed those pounds. This is brand new tech. It's only been around for a couple of years or so. It was based on research from the University of California that said there's a molecule called OEA that's found naturally in your body. It produces it in the Mediterranean diet, that when taken in concentrated amounts, it will actually make you feel fuller and boost your metabolism.
I've lost about 10 pounds so far.
It's amazing.
It
now,
really is cool.
A company said, we can take this to market and make this great product that'll help you. It's called RidUZone, RIDUZone.com, RIDUZone.com. It's Brad's work. It's worked for Brad's, worked for me, countless other people. Go to RidUZone.com and try today. You're going to love it. RidUZone.com. Remember that, RIDUZone.com.
Take the pain out of ordering your diabetic testing supplies with Diathrive. Diathrive ships the testing supplies you need directly to you when you need them. Best of all, with plans starting as low as $8 a month, Diathrive is probably going to cost you less than what you're paying today. Diathrive is so convinced that you'll love their service, they're offering your first month of supplies free. Simply type the code DOC, D-O-C, at checkout. Diathrive.com. That's DIA Thrive.com.
Are you tired of high cable TV rates? Sign up for Dish today and get a $500 bonus offer while supplies last. Plus, lock in your price for 2 years guaranteed. Call All American Dish, your Dish authorized retailer now.
800-570-6630. 800-570-6630. That's 800-570-6630. Offers require credit qualification, 24-month commitment, early termination fee, and e-auto pay. Restrictions apply. Call for details.
Yeah, I kind of like just listening to music. We need to make that intro longer. Hey, I hear myself on. When I hear myself on Facebook, when I launched the live Facebook Live, viewing party, watch party, whatever, it kind of freaks me out. I forget I got to keep the volume off, because what I hear coming out of the speakers on the computer is not what I hear here in these speakers on my head, nor is it what I hear when I speak out loud. It's really bizarre. The first time I heard myself recorded on Doc's show previously at the other channel, it was very, very bizarre. And listening to myself on television was even more bizarre, but it's fun. Yeah, I have to say, I really love what I'm doing. Thank you all for listening in, and I'm going to start inviting people. All right, everybody, get ready. I'm inviting. I'm not going to talk about it, but yes, it's very, I am going to talk about why your wine might smell a bit funny. All right, it's not an uncommon practice, and occurrence, but I really want to get Cheryl Heiser's her take on that, because she is the beverage expert of choice for Spoony Radio. All right, what else we got in the news today? Oh, there was a recall. So Spoony Radio, let me get this out there. Spoony Radio PSA number, PSA number 1692. Yes, I just make them up, but I do actually keep track of these. So PSA number 1692. Yep. It's happened once again. Tyson Chicken. Tyson Chicken is recalling more than 69,000 pounds of chicken strips because they may contain metal. I'll tell you why. I don't understand why this happens here in a minute, but let's go through it first. About 69,093 pounds of frozen chicken strips have been recalled by Tyson Foods because the products may be contaminated with metal, the United States Department of Agriculture announced on Thursday. The affected products include Buffalo and Crispy Style ready-to-eat products that were produced on November 30th, 2018. All recalled products have best if used by date of November 30th, 2019, and have the establishment number P-7221 printed on the back of the product. All right. They had another recall in late January, actually, where 36,000 pounds of Tyson chicken nuggets were recalled because of possible rubber contamination. Now, rubber is, I understand, rubber is a little more difficult to discern or to detect in a food product because there's no rubber detector, right? You can, oh, that sounded bad, but you can't run it through like a detector of sorts, like a magnetized field, and detect something that's made of petroleum or true rubber plant. It doesn't work that way. But metal, I don't understand why you can't. Every box of Tyson chicken, trust me, you cannot manufacture a product to be sold in a retail store unless it goes through several processes. All right. Number one is that you need to send it off for a bacterial growth evaluation. So you send it to, like, I'll give you an example. In California, we used Michelson Laboratories. It's Michelson or Michelson. It's Mikelson. We sent it off. Ours was a shelf-stable. It wasn't shelf-stable. It was a refrigerated product, but even frozen products have to go through this. And what they do is basically you take this product, you leave it under whatever conditions it's going to be, right? Frozen, not so much, but refrigerated products, whatever condition it's going to be in, stored in for the processing portion, the storage, then transportation, then storage, up till the moment of sale, and how it's going to be sold, held after it's sold. They have to determine what the growth rate of bacteria is so that you can label how long it's good for and what the expiration date is, or the best buy date. All right, so we had to wait every day. We had to call, find out what the growth factor was. But what happens with bacteria is they start to grow very, very, very slowly until one of two things happens. You enter a certain temperature zone, which is 40 to 140. That's the danger zone. 40 degrees to 140 degrees. That's when bacteria multiply. I mean, exponentially. It's crazy. But what happens is either that occurs, or you get to over a longer period of time when the bacteria meet this kind of critical mass. This very long, slow, ever so slightly sloping upward sloping growth curve goes virtually. It goes ballistic, basically, as they would say in Top Gun. It goes almost vertical, and then eventually they eat up all the food, and they die back off. But when they reach a certain number of particles per million or bacteria per million, or just a certain number as measured by weight, I'm sure, then that's the date that you have to say, by that date you have to put it's either expired or no longer sellable, right? Typically you back a day or two. So there's all this stuff. But another even more important thing, because bacterial, viral, these organisms that contaminate food, there are other things that contaminate food as well. One of them being foreign objects. So foreign objects are harder to detect, right? But they can be just as dangerous. Glass, right? That's hard to detect. But anyway, metal is not hard to detect. You can detect metal down to very small fragments through a very simple process, right? It could be actually 2-step or 3-step. I mean, these things, look, this is a chicken product that's it's ground up or it's a whole chicken strip. It goes through some sort of a soaking solution, I'm sure. Look, I've watched how it's made, but I've also worked in these processing plants. In Ecuador, where we did shrimp, similar process. They go through this bath. It then goes through some sort of other treatment, like so this bath is a solution. Kills bacteria. It also a lot of times adds sodium to the product to plump it up, make it heavier, right? So that they're selling more water than would normally be in the poultry or whatever the product is. It increases weight, you get more money, cost per pound goes down for the manufacturer. It goes from that, it goes into a soaking solution a lot of times, whether that's, it could be sprayed on, it could be a soak. In this case, it's probably something that helps the breading stick, I'm sure it is. Then it goes through the breading process. At the end of the breading process, it's going to go through probably a flash freezing process, or at least a cooling process, where it's going to go through it's going to be a wide conveyor belt, probably about the width of this table. So 4 feet wide. They have 6 foot as well. They're all in a single level, layer. They go through this. They're sprayed with water. They're misted with water or whatever the freezing solution is. But then as it goes through this tunnel, and it's misted as it goes through, on the entry side, it's a really cold blast of air, drops the temperature ridiculously fast. Then they take these, they put them on these freezing racks. They roll them in a big freezer. They deep freeze it. Sometimes it goes up a conveyor belt, and it goes down this spiral freezer, right? It basically, this is a cool process. I worked at a plant in San Diego County. Chick Correa is the guy's name. Chick, his wife's name was Lena. They had a company called Mama Lena's Pasta, and they used to make all the pizzas for Wolfgang Puck for the Western United States. And so they had to have a spiral freezer. So they built this spiral freezer. Very cool. You have a conveyor belt. So you have the construction, the process of making the pizza. I'm going to get back to the other story in a second. But you make the pizza. It's an assembly line thing, whether it's automated or manual, it doesn't matter. But then it goes on this it's kind of like what we call the elevator. So it's a ramp that leads to the top of what looks like a barn door. And on a farm, then you basically throw bales of hay on it, and it's a conveyor belt that takes the hay bales to the top where the big doors they fall off into there, and then you stack them inside the barn. It's a lot of manual labor, but this is the same process. It basically travels up this conveyor belt to the top, and then they drop onto this spiral freezer, which it's about 30 feet high, 20 feet high at least. And the spiral freezer, it has rollers, which are mechanized, so they turn at a certain pace. And it's like 20 below in there. It's freaking freezing. And whatever the product is, in this case, pizzas, they roll down over a specific period of time, and by the time they reach the bottom, they're fully deep frozen. Then you box them up in there, and then you put them in your deep freezer, and you take them out of that freezer, and you put them in a storage freezer. So it's the same process here. It could be a spiral freezer. It could be where they put them through this. They always go through a spray tunnel like that, and then they're put on racks. Most likely, they put them in a giant freezer stacked up. They leave them in there for 48 hours, however long it takes to deep freeze them, and then they box them up and they ship them. But here's the thing. At each stage where they have a conveyor belt, there's typically a metal detector. It's a big kind of U-shaped, right? Field goals are the uprights of the field goals are tall but not wide. This is just the opposite. It's wide but not tall. So it's an upside down U that goes over the conveyor belt, and it's got magnets in it, so it detects any metal. I mean, down to tiny fragments. So, Tyson, how the hell is it possible that you can't detect the metal? You don't even have to do this when the product is in a single layer. You can do it by the case. When we had our processing plant in California, we did these shrimp products and value-added seafood products at this actual plant. Chick's plant in LA, Mama Lena's Pasta in San Diego County. That's Mama Lena's Pasta. We had to put it through this magnetized detection device. Otherwise, you can't sell it to Trader Joe's, Costco, Rally's grocery stores, any Whole Foods. We could not sell to anyone. So how is it that a company that's the biggest poultry producing company in the world can't have the required machinery in place, or maybe there was a malfunction? I don't know. How could they can't become contaminated after they're packaged, and once they're boxed, they still have to go one final time through that detection device. So I just find it interesting. Again, they had in late January had 36,000 pounds, right? Then this Thursday they had 69,000 pounds. All right. I don't understand it. The products that were recalled were Tyson fully cooked buffalo style chicken strips, chicken breast strip fritters with rib meat and buffalo style sauce. They're sold in 25-ounce bags. Tyson fully cooked crispy chicken strips. It's chicken breast strip fritters with rib meat. And the spare time fully cooked buffalo style chicken strips. Look, man, that's an awful long name for something that should say buffalo chicken strips. But apparently people found little pieces of metal in it. And as with the January recall, the USDA's Food Safety and Inspection Services, they're the ones that heard of the situation, and they're the ones that go ahead and put the recall in place. But I'm not sure. The agency says it's concerned that the recall products may be frozen and placed in consumer freezers, blah, blah, blah. No confirmed reports of adverse reaction. But where is it that why did it happen? It doesn't say. I mean, I don't know. How does it happen? Do you just not have those safeguards in place? Come on, man. You're one of the most influential, companies in the world when it comes to driving brand awareness, innovating new products. Whether you like them or hate them, they're a big company and they're not going away. So, anyway, hey, on the other side of things, they've determined. They meaning, let's see, the doesn't say. Oh, Tufts University. They did actually a fairly large study, right? They've determined that the possibility of prescribing healthy food could save billions of dollars in healthcare. They've tried something like this in England, and I'm not sure it's actually worked, but prescriptions for healthy foods could help lower the risk of expensive chronic illnesses like cardiovascular disease and diabetes in Medicare and Medicaid patients. Researchers used computer models to calculate that prescribing healthy food to patients could prevent as many as 3.3 basically million medical conditions, such as heart attacks and strokes, and save more than $100 billion in healthcare costs, this study found. This is found in the journal, the medical journal PLOS PLOS Medicine. They observed people between the ages of 35 and 80 who were enrolled in Medicare or Medicaid and used data from the National Health and Nutrition Examination Survey from the past 3 years. They came up with two scenarios to measure how patients' health and general cost would be impacted with health food prescriptions. So the first one, they examined the financial impact of covering 30% of the cost of fruits and vegetables under Medicare and Medicaid. And in the second, 30% of the cost of fruits, veggies, and other healthy foods like plant oils, nuts, seafood, and whole grains would be covered. They determined that under the proposed prescription models, patients would rely less on health care. Researchers found that the first food prescription model would decrease healthcare costs by nearly $40 billion, but the second policy model would reduce healthcare costs by more than $100 billion. Yeah, I'd like to see how they came up with the numbers. I mean, I think it's you can't mandate it, right? Even if you prescribe it, you can't force people to buy it. I don't know how influential is that discount, right? That the savings for the individual. How much is that going to be a motivator? Everybody says that they'll do it, but when it comes down to it, we're kind of lazy, and the human mind has an aversion to change. It really does. That's why people stay in crappy jobs. They stay in unhealthy relationships. They stay until the fear of the situation you're in is greater than the fear of the unknown, which is anything new. Then you typically don't make the change. That's why people have such a hard time in changing their eating habits, right? Exercising on a consistent basis. It's not that exercise is fearful, but when you start changing your diet, it's hard. You're like, oh my God, I'm going to miss this so much. Your mind does not like, the unconscious mind, the subconscious mind does not like change, and it does almost everything possible to prevent you from that change, even if the change is good for you. Even if the change is good for you, it's a very difficult thing. So anyway, I'm going to look and see. They're going to do the 2018 Farm Bill. Actually, last year, I did not know this. It included a $25 million fund for produce prescription pilot programs. That's it'll be used in an effort to keep chronically ill patients at home and out of hospitals and nursing homes. California launched a 3-year, $6 million pilot program last May to give recipients with type 2 diabetes or heart failure free nutritious meals. Okay, look, I mean, it's great that we're giving these free meals away, but we wonder why California, the state of California's finances are in such, in such poor condition. I mean, I'm interested to see what the results of this study are. I really am. Oh, wow. I didn't see this. Beer is being sold as a wellness product. I got to look at this one next. And CBD-infused Easter candy has arrived. We're going to do that one first. Huh. We got to open this in a new tab here. CBD Easter candy. You know, I'm a big proponent of CBDs. Oh, we already talked about this. It's just Jelly Belly. Come on, man. All right, I thought it was something new. I missed it. Sorry about that. But the other one, beer is being sold as a wellness product. I got to see this one. All right. U.S. beer. Oh, so U.S. beer consumption is on the decline, by the way. I mean, it's dropping a lot. I think they've gone down by, in 2018, it was all like 1.5%. And then on 2017, it went down a little over 1%, 1.1%. Yeah, okay, 1.1%. Yes, I look at how much Americans drink. I look at how much Australians drink, how much Europeans drink. I don't really pay attention to how much I drink because then I'd probably have to change, but my mind has an aversion to change. No. Look, I've had 2 sips of beer the whole show. I'll drink during the break. So anyway, American beer consumption continues to drop, and brewers are attracting health-conscious consumers with no and low alcohol beverages that are packed with vitamin-rich fruit and electrolytes with fewer calories. This sounds like the smart drinks back in the late 80s, early 90s. You guys remember those smart drinks? It was a fad that didn't last but a couple of years. I heard about them in Japan. I was at where was I? I think I was at a restaurant, a bar in downtown Osaka called the P Club, P-Club. There was a guy there who I met through another friend of mine, Matt. Matt was a guy Matt was from New York or Chicago. He was from Chicago. I met Matt, and he introduced me to this guy named Sven Serrano. I kid you not, Sven Serrano. Sven's mom was a Swedish model. Sven's dad was a Mexican businessman. Hence Sven Serrano. Sven was one of the smartest guys I knew, spoke 7 languages fluently, had been living in Japan for about 4 years, wrote and read Japanese fluently, spoke perfectly. So anyway, Sven he started a new company. Sven was very entrepreneurial. He was about my age, maybe a year younger, year older. Sven was doing well, though. He started in bars doing this thing where they would set up on one end of the bar these mocktails called smart drinks. These smart drinks would have things like really high doses of niacin or B complex, right? But niacin, when taken in high doses, it has this reaction which was kind of titillating, I believe, for the people in the clubs. But if you do it normally, if you take high doses of niacin normally, it's actually concerning. But it's called the niacin flush. And this niacin flush, it makes your skin feel like it's like you turn red and it feels like it's hot and not burning, but like you have this high fever all of a sudden. You don't feel ill, but your skin is kind of on fire. It's this weird reaction to, again, ingestion of high doses of niacin. And Sven was making a killing. So what he'd do is he would sell his drinks at the end of the bar as part of the bar service in total, and then he would give a percentage of his sales to the bar, and he had to pay, I think there was key money. Basically, he had to pay a fee to be there for the night. A fantastic idea. I did not like them because, look, if I want to drink, I don't mind getting a little tipsy. In Japan, I didn't drive anyway. I took a taxi everywhere. I took the train. But I did not like the feel of that niacin flush, but everybody loved them. I'll have to look up and see what some of the other drinks were. But anyway, it's beer consumption in the U.S. is declining. Sierra Nevada, they're the 3rd largest craft brewery in the United States. As a matter of fact, they had that big push to Sierra Nevada. I want to say that they were doing that big fundraiser where they came out with a beer nationwide. And they didn't do all the brewing. A lot of brewers across the country, a lot of these craft brewers actually brewed the beer. I'll have to look up the name again. I forgot it was an IPA, but it was to benefit the people of Northern California who had been, they'd suffered from the big fires up there. Anyway, but they're the 3rd largest craft brewer in the United States. Announced last month, it purchased the low alcohol San Francisco-based Sufferfest beer company. Yeah, low alcohol, gluten-free beer. Sufferfest is right, not Summerfest. Sufferfest. The gluten-reduced beer brands itself as beer with benefits, marketed to athletes as a recovery drink because it contains electrolytes and sea salts to help drinkers refuel instead of leaving them dehydrated like most alcohol does. And that's true. When you've exercised, it's always interesting when you run a marathon and then they give you beer tickets at the end, right? Or you run a half marathon or whatever the race may be, even bicycle races sometimes, larger events in certain cities. They give you tickets for free beer. It's not bad enough you just rode 100 miles or you ran 26.2. That's a long ride, by the way, and an even longer run. But then they give you alcohol, which depletes your body of more water. So the Sufferfest has a 95-calorie Kölsch. Yes, it's not Kolsch or however you say it in America. It's Kölsch. Okay, it's from Cologne. City of Cologne is Köln in German. It's called Kölsch. It's a 3.5% volume alcohol, and it's brewed with bee pollen. They have another one that's their faster known time pale ale. Faster known time. So I guess you're going to run faster if you. It's that one has sea salt and black currant, and that's 5.5% by volume. They launched in 2016. Oh my gosh, this reminds me of a conversation I had yesterday with someone I'm not going to disclose who has a really, really cool craft brewery that's going to, they're working on it in LA. I'm going to be a part of this project. I'll let the cat out of the bag as we get closer. This person has been a mentor to us here at the Cuddle Me Buff LLC. And yes, it's not a bad word. Look up Cuddle Me Buff. It doesn't mean snuggle me naked. Cuddle Me Buff. It's an old word from the UK, I believe England. Look it up. Is it England or Scotland? I'll have to look it up and see. But it's an old UK term. They've helped us. They designed this logo right here. They designed the Mojo 50 logo, and they've been extremely helpful from a business perspective, but I can't say who they are. You can look it up. I'm sure you probably figured it out. But they have a very cool concept. It's kind of a healthy beer because one of them is a big trail runner. It's going to be really cool. So anyway, they have this 95 calorie Kölsch. They have the with bee pollen. They have the faster known time pale ale, and they have the salt black currant. But these lower no alcohol beers are of interest to a lot of consumers, not just the brewers, because wellness and health is becoming a big deal, and many people are taking a look at their beverage and alcoholic beverage consumption, and that's true. The millennials are drinking less, and Gen Y is drinking even less than they are. Millennials are actually shying away from beer, and they're going away from hard liquor. They're mostly consuming wine. And they're not going out to consume it. They typically consume more often at home than out of the household. So people are trying to adapt to that and give them reasons to go out and drink. The global health and wellness industry grew 12.8% from 2015 to 2017 and is now a, get this, $4.2 trillion industry. I'm going to say that one more time. The global wellness industry is now a $4.2 trillion industry. That's a lot of money. I mean, if you don't know, if you're not somehow going to tap into this market in the future or somehow invest in it, then yeah, you're making a mistake, a big mistake. So companies like Anheuser-Busch or InBev, right? They went down, their sales were down 2.5%. 3.25%. They're coming out with a spiked coconut water product. Coconut water, by the way, is very hydrating. Let's see. Last year, Molson Coors, which is now, I think, Molson Coors, Miller Coors, they were down 1.45%. They acquired California-based Clearly Kombucha, making it the first international brewing company to purchase a non-alcoholic beverage brand. I didn't know that. I didn't realize that no international brewing company had ever purchased a non-alcoholic beverage, a brand, that is. Interesting. Anyway, the Brewers Association found that 40% are already brewing products that fall outside its traditional beer and cider categories to include low alcohol and non-alcoholic beers. I'm telling you what, though, the old non-alcoholic beers that are out there, the NA stuff, they're not good. I'm sorry. I didn't drink for like 5 years. It started when I was in Japan. The last 2 years I was in Japan. And then after I came back, it was just for me personally. It was a personal choice. But they sucked. I used to always have something in the fridge, and, people come over and drink, and I'd just grab one of those, or I was out to dinner, or, I'd hanging out with the guys after work. I'd always drink an NA beer, because I'll tell you, ginger ale and cranberry juice got really old after a while. But they were terrible. It didn't matter which one you had. But yeah, it looks like Athletic Brewery, Harpoon Brewery. Let's see. All of them are coming out with something that's low alcohol or non-alcohol. Anyway, keep your eye on this. This may be an area where you want to invest. If you know of a small startup, or maybe your favorite brewery, your favorite beer distributor, international brewer, buys one of these companies, might be a time to invest. You never know. Anyway, check it out. This is actually on marketwatch.com. It's a very interesting article, and the trends are changing, folks. They're changing. All right, coming up at the bottom of the hour, Cheryl Rich Heisler from mixedmetaphors.com will be on the radio with us. Oh, she's going to tell us, what are we drinking Friday? What are we drinking Saturday? And leading up to that, I'll give a little lead into why your wine may smell like, why it may smell a little rancid. Anyway, we'll talk about that when Cheryl's on the air and see if she knows what that's called or not, because I didn't know. I'd never heard the term before. We'll try to stump the expert. We'll see what happens. Anyway, Chef Patrick Mosher, the Food Biz Pro. It is a casual Friday. I'm not even wearing a chef coat. No work this afternoon for me. Not for a while anyway. It is beer all day, breakfast to dinner. Well, maybe not all day. Anyway, have a sip. Take off early. Come right back.
This is the only 24-hour take-anywhere platform dedicated to food and fun. We're Spoony.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm John Scott. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo is holding talks with Lebanese leaders amid strong regional condemnation of President Trump's declaration that it's time the U.S. recognize Israel's sovereignty over the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights. Pompeo says Hezbollah's destabilizing activities hurt Lebanon and its people.
Frankly, Lebanon and the Lebanese people face a choice. Bravely move forward as an independent and proud nation, or allow the dark ambitions of Iran and Hezbollah to dictate your future.
Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. The wait continues on the release of the Mueller report. President Trump continues to downplay the forthcoming report on the special counsel's Russia investigation. He says there was no collusion and no obstruction. Political analyst Tony Travers says anything can happen now that there has been an extension to Brexit.
It all now hangs on whether MPs can, as they say, seize control, Parliament can somehow seize control, or whether Mrs May can get her deal through. Or if none of that happens, no deal is still a possibility. And I suspect Theresa May, despite everything, might go for no deal if her deal doesn't get through, but then Parliament might stop that.
The departure date postponed from March 29th to May 22nd. Also on townhall.com, President Trump will nominate prominent conservative economist Stephen Moore to a vacant spot on the Federal Reserve Board.
Moore served as an economic advisor to Mr. Trump during the 2016 presidential campaign. He helped draft the candidate's tax cut plan. Moore will fill one of two vacancies on the board. The president has been a harsh critic of last year's rate hikes by the Fed and continues to criticize Chairman Jerome Powell, even though the bank announced this week it expected no rate hikes this year.
Wally Hines reporting. The Dow is down 391 points, the NASDAQ off 168. More on these stories at townhall.com.
It looks like you're losing.
I am.
Are you losing weight?
I am losing. I've lost about 10 pounds.
How are you doing it?
Funny name, but I've done it with Riduzone. RIDUzone.com, and the stuff works. It's, you get into all that, the molecule this and the found in that. All I can tell you is it makes you feel full, and it keeps your mind off of wanting to overeat.
And also boosts your metabolism, so you're burning more.
Yeah,
Try it today. It's going to work for you like it's worked for Brad and countless other people. Riduzone.com. RIDUzone.com.
If you're trying to quit drinking or doing too many drugs, listen to me. You don't know me and we'll never meet. I had a problem like you once. I drank and used to party a little too much till it got out of control and almost ruined my life. I realized I needed help to fix my problem before it totally destroyed me. If you've tried to fix your drinking and drug problem and you know you can't do it alone, you need to call the National Treatment Advisors. They'll immerse you into a 30-day program to replace your old habits with new habits and totally change your life. And if you have PPO private health insurance, the entire program may be covered. Fix your problem right now before it gets any worse. Get clean. Call now and learn more. 800-296-1252. 800-296-1252. 800-296-1252. 800-296-1252. Fast Track Student Loans can get your student loans out of default, stop any wage garnishments, stop collection calls, and stop seizure of your tax refund. Give yourself a break. Stop the stress and get your student loan payments down to as little as $25 a month based on what you can afford to pay. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395.
And welcome back. We're not quite on dessert course. We're on third course. This should be the main meal. The main meal. So do we have salad course, super salad, appetizer, maybe an amuse-bouche? Now we get the main course. It's warming up, so short ribs are not going to be my favorite dish anymore. What do we have now? I got to think about that. I'm actually working on getting the what's for dinner. Or what are we drinking Friday? What are we drinking Saturday right now? And to do this, I have to do this screen grab of the picture. Not of the picture, but of the recipe. And to do that, as a non-native Mac user, always takes me a little bit of time. But anyway, very cool. Cheryl Rich Heiser of mixedmetapours.com does such a great job with these cocktails. She creates 2 custom cocktails for us every week. The first one is What We Drink on Friday. That's What Are We Drinking Friday. And the other one is What Are We Drinking Saturday. And this first one is going to be very cool. So check it out. I'm going to just save this to photos, and we'll be done here in a minute. Yeah, so what are we eating this time of year? Spring is coming. Spring has sprung. It's second day of spring, I believe. Third day of spring. I believe Wednesday was the first day. It is, I don't even know what the temperature is outside today. What is it? Let's see if it's warming up here or not. What do we have today? Oh, not the calendar, just the weather. 75 degrees, baby. Heck yeah, we're warming up in fancy Haltom City. Haltom City, Texas, just outside of Fort Worth on the airport freeway. Beautiful Mojo River running right next door. Anyway, it's all good stuff. Anyway, you got to stay tuned to the end of the show because Cheryl's really fun to have on. We talk about what we're drinking Friday, and then we go into a few other things, and then from there, we go into what we're drinking Saturday, and then we just get kind of silly. She usually makes one of the cocktails. What are we drinking Friday? Typically, and she consumes it while we're drinking. I'm working on getting a bar put in her. I don't know where to put it though. We will have there's going to be a wall right here behind the table, and we'll have a flat-sided table. The front side of this will be flat, not circular or kind of arced like this. And I'll be able to do prep work up there. We'll have a new camera that hangs above it. It'll be like a GoPro that hangs straight down. It'll show you what I'm doing. Instead of having a mirror that we bounce the view off of, it's much easier, and it actually gives you the actual view of what I'm doing instead of reversed. But that's going to be really fun. That'll be in the next month or so, and I'm going to start doing some really fun stuff in here. Do some short Facebook Live videos, and get some more short form content up on the YouTube channel. So hey, if you missed it, yesterday, we were not able to do the live video feed because we did it recorded. But Dr. Kenneth Brown with the Gut Check Project, he and Eric Rieger, man, we had a good time. Sunday evening, we actually recorded the show, and I was the guest. So it was really fun. We talked about the interesting personality traits of chefs and physicians and how they sometimes, actually in many, many ways, they cross over. We all seem to be gluttons for punishment and suffer from a bit of martyrdom. And there's this sick sense of pride in revealing, chefs at the end of the week will sit down, we'll have a drink with other chefs. Typically Monday nights it's either Sunday or Mondays that are our day off. We typically don't take the day off. We go in and do other things. We experiment, or we go out in the field and we do our own homework, which doesn't feel like work. You visit farmers, or you go eat at other restaurants, do your discovery process, right? But we sit around at the end of the week, and maybe it's 1 o'clock in the morning. It's just about closing time. Chefs start rolling in to get one drink before they head home on a Saturday night late. And we always say, oh, man, I had a 70-hour week. It was long. It was arduous. And you're like, man, 70 hours is nothing, man. We're open in the restaurant. I had like a 93-hour week. What are you talking about? And then, of course, one guy has to break the 100-hour mark. And it's this sick sense of pride in outworking each other, spending more hours, when really, in all reality, it's an addiction to control over everything in the restaurant, or not being good delegators. So now, there are certain circumstances that you do need to be in the restaurant. You should be there during the busiest service hours. But great chefs should be able to delegate and not spend every moment in the kitchen. I'm just saying. I fell victim to the never-ending work days for years and years and years, and it became this point of pride, and I really did. And it's a tough thing. Yeah, it's a really tough. It's hard on you mentally, physically, emotionally. It takes its toll eventually. A lot of chefs have addictive behaviors. I believe they have one of the highest rates, if not, I think below only police officers or law enforcement. I think that chefs or the restaurant industry, I think it's chefs in specifically, have the highest rate of alcoholism and divorce. So anyway, all that aside, we had a great talk. We had a lot of fun, and Eric had come up with this game. Eric Rieger, he's the co-host and kind of moderator of the show. He came up with a game that we played during the last half hour, where he had these terms from the food and beverage industry, and then also from the medical fields, and he asked us questions. What does this mean, Patrick? Do you know what would this mean in the what do you think this would mean in the medical field? And what do you think this means in the? He would ask Dr. Brown, what do you think this means in the food and beverage industry? So it was just really fun, and it was really interesting. And to open the show, Dr. Brown had actually found this fascinating website. I believe it's called ingredientpairing.com. I'll look it up. I'll post it. But it was fantastic. It was interesting in the sense that you could start with one ingredient, and you would look at that ingredient, and then you could pair the ingredients with it to make the ultimate meal. But how this ultimate meal comes down to determining what ingredients would be best paired with the I got excited. See, I stand up. I'm all fidgety now. It goes down to the molecular structure of these items, right? It's fascinating. And these ingredients, things that you would think would have nothing in common, or you'd think it's just a simple flavor profile is why they match. It's not it at all. It has to do with the molecular structure and what makes them somehow within the same family of ingredients. It's amazing. Anyway, he walked us through one. His daughter picked uni as the main ingredient, and which is sea urchin roe. If you've never had it, don't give me a hard time. It's actually really tasty, and if you don't like it, that's not my fault. You just haven't tried the right uni. That's all. It hasn't been fresh enough. It shouldn't be bitter. It should be sweet and creamy. Looks like mini little tongues on a wooden tray. Really, really delicious. I'm just saying. Anyway, so and he walked me through the whole list of ingredients that they had compiled or to make a new recipe from. I really think that this is going to be a great tool for chefs to start creating the perfect meal, so to speak. I don't know if you heard a couple of days ago, Randy White was in here with me. Was Randy in here? Anyway, oh yeah, because we talked about what kind of music he likes. But scientists have determined that now, after they did a study and they had several specialists in the room. They or in the studies, like it was about cheese. It was like, what kind of music makes cheese taste the best, or betters the taste. I mean, yeah. What one increases the taste of the cheese or makes the cheese taste better? Which one makes it? And you know what? Cheese tastes better. Tastes best. All right, I need more beer apparently because it's Friday and I'm not slurring, but I have this weird lisp and I'm adding extra S's into best. The bests. All right. There's a tiny piece of gum that was floating around my mouth there. It's another big faux pas. Yes, I know. I do it all the time. I have gum in my cheek. Okay, I'm not a real radio show host. Well, I am, but I didn't get here because I studied broadcasting, right? I studied drinking and food, and primarily food, cooking food, and then drinking. That's how I got here. Doc found me interesting. It was fun to be on a show, and hopefully you do too. Anyway, hey, I am drinking this Deschutes Black Butte Porter today. It's really tasty. It's not too heavy. It's not too chocolatey, but anyway, this program is fascinating, you know? I think you can create this total dining experience now. All right, I talked to this guy on the phone that I was telling you about. He's coming up with his brewery concept, right? This gentleman was he was a Disney Imagineer for a while. Very influential as a friend to our company. Guy's brilliant, just a brilliant, creative, driven mind, right? And just such a great family, such nice people. Anyway, we were talking through some concepts that we can do for content for Spoony. Some things I can do in the field, some other types of videos instead of doing a 2-hour live show a day. What else can I add to that in addition to doing this show? I'm not going to stop doing this show. What else can I do to kind of gain the viewership that we need? Because I'll tell you, we really need to gain some viewership. We're small, right? Nobody knows who we are yet. And thanks to our listeners, yes, we're growing slowly and steadily. It's starting to gain some momentum, but I just need more exposure more quickly. So we talked about this, and he said, we talked about the music and food, and I spoke to him about this new website. So we talked about how do you design the ultimate dining experience, and it could be a multi-course meal, maybe in a house that's converted to a restaurant where you have one kitchen, but each of the other rooms becomes a dining where you only have one course of the meal in that room because the ambiance, the music, like the visual aesthetics, the music, and the course. Along with the food course, along with the beverage, have been paired, all of them specifically to be the perfect experience for that particular course. And then you might start out with a salad or a soup, right? And that's in one room with one type of music. Maybe it's Bach or Beethoven, I don't know. But then you go to the next course, maybe an amuse-bouche with how about a truffled this would be good. A summer truffle, a truffled, like actual truffles, shavings or truffle powder that's incorporated into a heirloom tomato sorbet. I just made that up. That sounds really delicious, though. And then you need something else. Maybe there's one other component to that. But that room, the next room, is designed specifically to accommodate that course. I'm really fidgety. I need to stop drinking regular coffee. I had 1/2 cup of regular coffee today because they didn't have any decaf at the 7-Eleven because we don't brew decaf here. These guys live on caffeine. I think I see them crushing up No-Dos and putting it in their water every morning, and then they drink their coffee. Not really, but Matt Locke will have like 6, 7, 8 cups of coffee before his show launches at 11 o'clock. So. But you could do that. You could do 4, 5, 6, 7 courses, and each course distinctively designed, not just the interaction between like at Ariel in New York, right? Not just that kind of interaction where they actually construct the dish in front of you or plate it in front of you on the counter, but every component is specifically designed to go together and it's designed by science. I think it would be fantastic. I'm gonna work with some of the local chefs. It could maybe we could do a progressive dinner, right? Where we start at one restaurant for the first course. Maybe it's an appetizer, then we go to or a starter course, then an appetizer. Then we go to the one place, maybe a bar that could do an amuse-bouche, which is amuse-bouche. If you have ever been to a restaurant where they serve like a sorbet course, where they have another small bite, a 1-bite course, what it is. It's something that opens up the palate. It's typically got a it can have a creamy aspect to it. It's typically a palate cleanser. And it's just like it's something to awaken the senses, brighten up the palate for the next course to come. There's a great restaurant in Chicago called True, and their whole menu is based on one bite foods. Right now, one bite portions. Right, these amuse-bouche, fantastic restaurant. It's not there anymore. I think he moved on and opened a steakhouse, but I think you could have a bar do an amuse-bouche paired with really cool. Maybe the amuse-bouche is a cocktail which is edible. Kent Cottle in Colorado, all right, with Z Catering, you work a lot with liquid nitrogen, or Ian Kleiman, the inventing room, right, also in Denver, Colorado. One of you two badasses, you need to come up with a cool frozen cocktail, but we need to speak about the ingredients from a molecular standpoint so that it mimics food, but it's really a frozen cocktail. Yeah, that'd be cool. And then you go to the main course, and then of course dessert. But yeah, you could do like 5 locations in one night easily if it's just like a very small tasting menu. I love it. All right, send your ideas. I know, man, I can't imagine. I have not looked at any of the comments today, so I don't know what people are saying. Hopefully, you don't think I'm crazy. It's somewhat interesting, but I'm telling you, we talked about this a little bit, and I really think that you could design the ultimate dining experience. And I'm not talking about just eating in the dark, which opens up, awakens the other senses because it doesn't become all visual. But I mean, the whole kit and caboodle from start to finish. No, darn it. See, I'm going back. Autocorrect. Stop asking me if I want to change the spelling on these words. Just let me take the picture without anything highlighted and use the screen grab to put this recipe up for the drink. All right. You know what's really cool is this recipe Cheryl's going to talk about for What Are We Drinking Friday. It's got one of my favorite ingredients, tarragon. And I don't care if you don't like licorice or not. Tarragon is a great addition. To both sweet and savory dishes. It's amazing. It's such a subtle hint of I don't even know if you really taste it as licorice, but I think because of the aroma, you get the flavor. Your olfactory sense of smell is the strongest tie to memory. So scent brings back more memories regarding food, any circumstance. It's the strongest tie to memory, right? So more often than there, hit myself in the mouth with the mic. But more memories are tied to scent than anything else. It's bizarre. I love it. We had a chef in this morning on Trey's chat on live. Michael Thompson, which by the name that was actually Doc Thompson's name, Mike Thompson. We were talking about this. He has this shrimp gravy. I want to say it was his grandmother's. The shrimp gravy. He can't get it perfect. He's got this great sense of smell and taste, and he actually, though, could not duplicate it perfectly. He's tried and tried and tried, and couldn't do it. So anyway, he said he got as close as he could, but it's just not perfect like it used to be. That's a problem as you get older and as a chef, your palate gets a little, I don't want to say burned out, but the taste buds probably are overworked in many ways. Your entire body, like my brain becomes fatigued after a long work day. Now, I literally used to be able to work 36 hours. Yes, I was really tired at the end of it, and I could barely speak, but I could stand and do the most repetitive thing for hours at a time and function at a high level and work under stress and direct people throughout the kitchen. But now, I'm telling you, at 51, it takes its toll. It really does. Hey, I don't look as tired as I feel on the monitor. I don't look as tired on the monitor as I feel, I should say. So that's good. Anyway, it's interesting how things go as you get older, how things change, and you start gaining weight, blah blah blah. But you know what? There is a way to help you with that, especially now. It's spring. Spring has sprung. Everybody wants to get out and get active. The new year has started. There's a product called Riduzone. That's RID Riduzone. Riduzone, it actually helps control the hunger. If you're craving sweets on a common basis, a regular day-to-day basis, it actually helps curb that. It really did for me. I'm actually down to almost, let's see, I started at 218. I'm down to a little under 202. That's pretty good. Almost 17 pounds in just about 3 months. So that's riduzone.com. You can use the promo code, I think it's Mojo, and it will get you a discount. But in tandem with that, Dr. Brown, who has the show on Thursdays, the Gut Check Project, he has a product that actually works in conjunction with that. It's called Atrantil. It's too hard to say, but basically, if you have any kind of a change in digestive habits, anything like, bloating or things like that, a lot of times that has to do with the environment in the gut. And we realize now that 90% of the serotonin, which helps you sleep, is actually made in the gut. It works in the brain. It's made in the gut. So gut health is very important for mental health and for physical health. So go to lovemytummy.com, lovemytummy.com/Spoony, and you'll get your discount. And it's a fantastic product. I've been taking that in tandem with the Riduzone, and I'm telling you, I'm feeling fantastic. So check it out. Please pay our sponsors a visit. I really want to talk about the drink, but Cheryl's coming on soon. Oh, Monday morning or Monday afternoon on my show, we will have the founders and owners of the Nostalgia Wild Rice Company. Lori and Jay will be in here. We're going to be making some food all day long. We're going to be cooking for our shows on our neighbor in our partner studio next door, and then we'll have them on my show as well. We might even make something for, I think Randy White's show is going to launch on Monday, so we will more than likely have something for his show as well. But if you didn't see it, about 3-4 weeks ago, I actually made chicken and waffles. So Nostalgia Wild Rice, you can just go to SpoonyWildRice.com. If you type in the promo code SPRING10, you get a 10% discount on all of your entire order, no matter what you buy. They make this side dish. It's a polenta, which is like 80% wild rice and then seasonings. And I had the poultry seasoning. They have one it's seasoned with poultry seasoning, their own blend. And it's fantastic. It's gluten-free. It's close to a complete protein. I think it's 13 to the 14 amino acids. It's a great product. It's the only native grain in North America, but you make this side dish. It's much like a polenta. It's not quite as fine, but it's fantastic flavor. You can take that and turn it into a waffle recipe. So I did a play on a savory play on chicken and waffles. I actually took I roasted chicken, rotisserie chicken. I shredded that up. I incorporated that into the waffle mix, which I had made from the cooked polenta mix, the side dish. And then I actually cooked the waffles with the chicken inside it. And then I served that with some Nostalgia. They have a great maple syrup. And I actually put a little sriracha on there to make it a little sweet and savory, a little spicy. It was unbelievable. And I had to put a fried egg on top too, which doesn't hurt. So anyway, go to SpoonyWildRice.com and, visit another one of our sponsors. They are great people. Their company's about 30 years old. Really nice people. They have a super variety of products, whipped honeys, beer infused honeys. They have they have this what is it? Choke cherry syrup, which is unbelievable. And probably my favorite product so far, outside of the wild rice itself, is they have this ghost pepper jam. And this ghost pepper jam, I've been afraid to try ghost peppers. Yes, I am. I don't like things that just burn your mouth and make you cry. It's stupid in my opinion. I don't have to be stupid to be brave, or you know what I mean. So, but it's phenomenal. The heat is so subtle when you eat it, and then it doesn't burn your throat going down. Your stomach doesn't burn, but man, there is an internal reaction in your body because you start to sweat a little bit. It's like this reactor, this furnace goes off inside. You don't feel the pain anywhere, but the heat level in the body definitely raises. I was on our sister channel, and I actually started sweating about a minute after I ate it, and I continued to sweat through the whole next segment, but it's fantastic, and it's not overpowering, and really, the heat level in the mouth is no worse than jalapeno. So, yeah, go to SpoonyWildRice.com. Check it out. The promo code is SPRING10. I think I hit all the advertisers today. So, Tom, you can be proud of me. I got one day's full load taken care of on my show. Anyway, I'm looking forward to it. Cheryl Heiser coming up right now, in about 3 minutes away. Mixed Metaphors. Go to mixedmetaphors.com. If you need a specialty drink for a party, as a gift, a special celebration, just for the hell of it, mixedmetaphors.com. She is the mixologist of choice. Hashtag Spoony approved. She's just a cocktail guru. She's amazing, and she's going to be on the show here and tell us what we're drinking Friday, what we're drinking Saturday. In the meantime, I'm going to continue sipping on my Deschutes Brewery. It's the Deschutes Brewery Black Butte Porter. And no, this is not a sponsor. We just love beer on Fridays. We taste it on one of the shows next door. I usually sip one. I tip a beer, so to speak, as my friends in Maryland would say during my show. And yeah, it's Friday. I'm glad it's Friday. This has been a long week. We have launched several new shows this week on Spoony. We have 2 new ones coming up next week, possibly 3. We had the Golden Years Project gentleman. As Jamie Anderson was on yesterday, he's going to be launching a show here. It's a lot of fun. Hey, I don't see a lot of viewers on there. Come on, I need 1,000 views today. Tell your friends, invite your family. Spoony.com, join the viewing party, invite your friends. Hey, I'll be right back in 2 minutes. Chef Patrick Mosher, don't go away.
Follow Chef Patrick Mosher on Twitter @FoodBiz.
Got an old car? You can donate it, whether it's running or not, to the United Breast Cancer Foundation and save a life. They'll even come and pick it up for free. The United Breast Cancer Foundation has saved hundreds of women's lives through their free or low-cost breast screen exams. But now they need your help. The United Breast Cancer Foundation wants to save more lives through early detection by offering women free or low-cost breast screening exams. And donating your old car, SUV, or truck, whether it's running or not, helps pay for them. Plus, you get a charitable tax deduction. Help the United Breast Cancer Foundation save lives by donating your old car, SUV, or truck. Call now for free pickup. 800-245-0823. 800-245-0823. 800-245-0823. Call right now. That number again is 800-245-0823.
Now you can fly anywhere in the world and pay discount prices on your airline tickets. Book a flight today to London, Paris, Madrid, or anywhere else you want to go and pay a lot less guaranteed. Call the International Travel Department right now at Low Cost Airlines.
800-452-1075. 800-452-1075. That's 800-452-1075.
Never Forgotten Apparel is more than just a premium women's and men's clothing line. It's a movement to remind us to wear American-made and serve those who serve us. Our heroes. Never Forgotten Apparel gives 20% of their total sales to nonprofits that support homeless veterans and off-duty firefighters, and 50% to individual veterans and firefighters in need nationwide. Check out neverforgottenapparel.com. Use promo code MATT, M-A-T-T, and get 15% off your purchase.
And we're back. It's showtime. It's almost the end of showtime. Chef Patrick Mosher, the Food Biz Pro. And it is Friday afternoon. It is Friday afternoon. Hell yeah. And as always, we already have... Oh, Cheryl's already there. Hold on a second. Miss Cheryl Heisler, are you there? Oh, I got to hit answer harder than that. There she is. You know what? I'm still... So here's the thing. They put me in charge of technology, meaning I answer my own phone. You know, they should know better by now. They should know better by now. Don't let me touch anything in the studio that I don't own, that I can't drink or eat. Okay? And give me a sippy cup because I have a bad habit of spilling coffee on the electronics. Not the big boards, but, you know, these little, these mic buttons and stuff, the mute buttons. I think I've ruined 2 so far. Not in this studio.
Whoa.
It's not my studio. It's the other one. It's okay. I'm joking, but I didn't.
You and I are on the same page, technology-wise. Give me a bottle or 2. I'm good with that. But put me in front of a computer and something bad's going to happen.
You know, for me, I'm clumsy. My mother used to say, "You can dress me up, but you can't take me out." Right? There's a reason everything I own has a grease stain on it. You know, and I actually today I was like, I'm not wearing a chef coat again. I had put I actually have a button-down shirt on today, so I could produce Trey's chat on live and actually look appropriate, which is good because his PR guy was here. But yeah, it's I'm so glad it's Friday.
Long week?
You know, it is. And not a bad week. A lot of great stuff happened this week. I wish I could talk about it all. Soon I'll be able to let some I say cats, but more like mountain lions out of the bag, depending on how just a few things go the next the week or so, as we work through some details of working with some other entities. I mean, one of these could be huge. We're talking, maybe national video distribution, but I don't know. Nothing's. Look, I don't believe it till you write me a check. Give me a check, we're good to go. I don't care what we sign, what we say until we get a check. I don't believe it. As most people know.
Just let me know when we need to do a celebratory drink, okay?
Oh, I will. And
all these other drinks.
I'll let you know ahead of time so we can actually do that. That'll be fun. Yeah, that'll be fun. Okay, I need to actually change pages here because I need to go back to the Spoony Facebook page. I'll stay on there. I'll just open another page. So, how was your week? How about you? Did you have a big week?
I had a busy week. I can't quite remember what Monday was like. That's when it's been a long week, but a good one.
I agree.
The theater company that I do the cocktails for and their mixology consultants launched a new show. So we had previews one night, we had demos one night, we trained the bar staff one night. We poured a lot of cocktails, and I think I'm going to share one of the ones that we've been pouring over there for What Are We Drinking Friday.
So, you know what? Look at that. Oh, my gosh. About 4 drops of beer. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to cover that.
What?
I'm going to cover that. I'm going to cover that with a notepad so nobody saw it. No party foul. No party fouls. No party foul. You know what? I was actually reaching. To move this book closer to me because I have this great book I want to talk to. I want to talk to you about a term I ran across actually on the internet, but it's called The Food Lover's Companion. And so, but let's talk about what we're drinking on Friday. And as you talk about it, I will post it live, right? Because I didn't want to let the cat out of the bag. So.
Okay,
Miss Cheryl Heisler from mixedmetaphors.com. What are we drinking Friday?
We are drinking, or we're asking the question, why not?
I love it.
Everybody I know likes dark whiskey, drinks scotch. Most of them like bourbon. But what about poor old rye? So rye used to be this spicy, burn as it goes down kind of spirit.
Yes,
that people
it did.
Associated with what their grandpas used to drink.
Mm-hmm. I didn't used to drink rye until very recently. I didn't drink rye.
Well, as they say, it's come a long way, baby. Rye can be so delicious. It's I find it to be a little bit sweeter in profile, most ryes than scotch, but not as sweet as a bourbon.
Mm-hmm.
And I love a local distillery here called Koval, where everything is organic and locally sourced. You can get it all over the country, in fact, mostly all over the world, and that's what I used in this recipe. But they make an unaged rye, and they make a barrel-aged rye. So in this new cocktail called Rye Not, we're using an ounce of each. So we're getting this kind of mellowness from the aged rye and this sort of brightness, almost like a tequila-ish kind of taste off of the white rye. So you add an ounce of each to your rocks glass. Then you're going to mix up a 2/3 of an ounce of Walder's Creamy Vanilla. You could use almost any cream kind of liqueur, but this one's great because it has a vanilla flavor to it. And you're going to add 1/3 of an ounce of the Matilda XO Orange French liqueur.
Mm-hmm.
So now you've got the rye going on. Rye and orange go beautifully together. The creamy vanilla really kind of mellows the whole thing. You're going to add about 3 ounces of pineapple orange juice. You could do half pineapple, half orange juice. You could cut the corner like I do and go buy one of the mixed juices in the store. Stir that up. Give it a couple of dashes of orange bitters and then some crushed tarragon for spring, and you have a delicious, refreshing, boozy but easy drinking cocktail. It's been a super huge hit at the theater, and I'm recommending everybody give it a try because it's an easy one to get hooked on.
It sounds delicious. So if you want to give a gratuitous plug, you're welcome to mention the theater.
Oh, the theater is called the Writers Theater in Glencoe, Illinois. Little town, big theater. They've gotten write-ups from the Wall Street Journal as the best local hometown theater in the country.
Wow.
We do 6 plays a year. I get to read the scripts in advance and write the cocktail recipe for each one, sometimes 2, for each of the different plays. So I can riff off the characters. I can riff off what the characters drink. I can riff off the style. I can riff off the colors, I get complete creative freedom as long as it's something that our patrons will like and our bar staff can make up. So
nice.
Every show gives me a chance to get a little bit into my my theater mode.
I love it.
And think about what's going to go with our great offerings on the stage. Yeah, it's great fun. And it's really, I can almost see the theater from my home, so I couldn't get it. My commute to work, well, usually I come downstairs from the bedroom to the kitchen to mix, but then my commute from the kitchen where I mix to the bar is only just a little bit longer than that.
So have you been to the Apollo Theater there? Not the Apollo,
Sure.
not the Apollo Theater, but the Apollo Theater in Chicago.
No.
Yeah.
Right. In fact, my first house where we first lived for years and years was right by the Apollo Theater, and we were so excited because we'll be able to walk to shows. And when we moved in, they were playing Pump Boys and Dinettes. And when we moved out, they were playing Pump Boys and Dinettes.
Okay, that's funny. So there's a
Luckily, Writers Theater changes their shows up often enough.
I was consulting there a lot in 2016 and 2015-16 and 2016-17, right? And there's a show. I mean, there's actually a play that was being put on there that was based on Game of Thrones, and I think it was called Throned.
Okay.
It was called Throned, and it was basically this. It was about these couples. There's two or three couples, and like one of the there were like 6 or 8 players. But one of the guys who's the man in a couple with a lady didn't like the show, and every week they had a watch party, and he'd just kind of go off and cook in the kitchen, whatever. And so it was the end of the season was coming up, and I think this was it was 2 years ago, so they'd been through a number of seasons already, 4 or 5 or 6, whatever it was.
Sure.
And so the play revolved around them acting out all of the seasons up until then in like an hour and 20 minutes. Or an hour 4. It was hilarious. I had never seen Game of Thrones, not once. After seeing that,
But now you feel like you have.
no, well, but it was funny because even if you'd never seen it before, you could get the gist of what every scene they played out was, and it was fantastic. It got me hooked. I went back and I started binge watching from day one, from season 1, and
Wow, it got you hooked.
And I don't
Shakespeare
typically-
Theater, Chicago Shakes does that sometimes.
Oh,
where
really?
They take a Shakespeare play or a series of Shakespeare plays and condense them down into sort of a 90-minute intro to everything, and you feel like, wow, is that how Shakespeare was meant to be seen? But it sure was fun.
Well, and this had started. There was a troupe in Scotland that actually started this. That started Throned, and then some American troops picked it up and kept it alive overseas. But it was fantastic. It was fantastic. It was actually one of the most entertaining plays I'd been to in a long time. But anyway, I digress. I was thinking theater. What do you call something that you make for like Game of Thrones? The hammer. You know, Excelsior. You're like I mean, what do you? That was
Dragon's
just thinking.
breath. I don't know.
the chain mail and all. I don't know, but anyway, it's I love when Friday rolls around. This last segment comes about because we just have fun. There's nothing too serious. It's light. Passionate.
It's cocktail hours somewhere. We started at
It is
5 o'clock begins when we get on the phone. That's what I'm thinking.
It is fantastic. So yeah, I can't. Are you drinking one of those now? The Rye Not, or is that?
Well, I started this morning drinking the drinks I made last night. So right now I'm on to coffee. I've got kind of a reverse thing going on
That's
here.
funny.
I'm going to be drinking orange juice for dinner. It's topsy-turvy in my world.
That's
What can
funny.
I tell
Well,
you?
I just posted the drink on the Spoony Radio Facebook page. So if you want to get the recipe, it's there. You know what? Go get the damn recipe. It's not if you want to get it. You're required. You're required. Look,
That's what you're drinking Friday. We called it.
that's right. What are we drinking Friday? So is that something you could batch make if you're going to have a party?
Absolutely. And in fact, that's how we've been doing it for the demos, because people come up, they want to taste it, they want to know what's in it. So we just count it out, double it, triple, quadruple it, whatever you've got going in a pitcher, and just add the crushed tarragon at the last minute.
And tarragon is one of my all-time favorite flavors. Oh my God, so good. It's because it's not as strong as like anise, or it's not as strong as even fennel, right? It's so subtle. I do a roasted like a roasted strawberry panna cotta, and so that I love panna cotta is one of my favorite cold desserts. That addition of the gelatin into the custard base. It's just I love it. And then, but what I do is I roast the strawberries. I add just a tiny bit of sugar and a touch of water, and I just throw a couple lemon halves or a squeeze of lemon juice or two into the strawberries that have been halved. And I wait till the peak of the season, buy organic or local strawberries, and then like 3 or 4 whole sprigs of tarragon in there, just the whole stem. And then I roast them until they're like most of the juice has been released and the pulp is really soft. And then you put all that through a food mill or through a fine sieve, mesh sieve, and then that becomes the base for that you mix into the custard. And oh my gosh, it's so good. That tarragon adds an almost imperceptible, but it's there. It adds a lot of depth, but it's almost indeterminate. You can't figure out what it is because it doesn't give that licorice flavor. It just gives a hint of something which you're like, wow. What is that? And
it's funny you say that because in the cocktail too, I love it because it gives a pop of green and it makes the cocktail look more spring-like, but it's very subtle, right? So you smell a little bit on your hands after you sort of rubbed it around. You get a little of the nose off the top, but if you didn't know it was there, you just think, what is this unusual, this extra little ingredient? But I'm making a strawberry balsamic drizzle kind of for dessert tonight at dinner. I may put some tarragon in there. That's a brilliant idea. Thank you for that one.
Yeah, anything. And with that, right? With that, if you can incorporate strawberries, tarragon, and then something acidic. Specifically, in my case, I love to use a balsamic reduction with that. Even a white balsamic reduction. Mm-hmm. I love white balsamic vinegar. Have you ever used that?
Yes, there's at the farmers market. You got to get to Chicago, Patrick. I got so many.
No, I love Chicago. Yeah, it's one of my favorite food towns.
Our summer market, but there's a group that comes from Portugal, and they have their farmed olive oil and white balsamic that's to die for. It's so great. I'm sure you can get it other places too, but I wait all year to load up on it there, and it's so good over strawberries, blueberries, anything you just want to drizzle with a little bit of balsamic.
You can actually take Alessi actually makes a very good product. I know that brand. Yeah, they don't have a large line, and they're not super widely distributed, but they're a fairly big company. But they make small bottles of it that aren't ridiculously expensive. Look, a good balsamic vinegar is really expensive. It can be up to $80 or more, but you don't have to do that because the reduction process, a very slow, deliberate reduction process, does the same thing.
So if you're willing to put a little time into it.
Exactly. So, but yeah, I love that. I love that component. I actually use a white. I was talking earlier. We'll get to what are we drinking Saturday at the end. Okay. I was speaking with this gentleman and his wife in LA yesterday. They own a studio, but he's a former Disney Imagineer. And
that's a great job.
I'm telling you, this guy, he actually designed the sculpture. It's like, they have the Oscars every year here, in Hollywood, but Disney every 4 years gives away the Legacy Award. He actually
I've heard of that.
He actually sculpted that. It's Mickey's hand coming up out of the wave holding the magic wand.
Yes.
He's the one that actually sculpted that back when he was working with Disney. And there are my keys. Yep, I'm glad I'm not driving. They have bottle opener in the other studio, but if I want to drink in this one, I have to use my keys. That's the first thing I learned to do is use alternative means to open a bottle of beer in Germany because there are no twist-offs in Germany, none.
Better your keys than your teeth.
The first time I learned was a plastic Bic lighter. But then I learned that those things can not explode, but pop when you do that because it'll break a hole in the corner of the lighter. So keys work as long as it's not a thin key. Automobile keys seem to work the best. But we talked about...
when you get desperate enough, you do anything.
Oh, I'll tell you what, corner of a table. Just pop a top, put it on the corner, pop it, it's going to squirt. It's going to foam. So, but anyway, we were talking about designing the perfect dining experience through so many means, right? They're like I read an article the other day that they had determined that the type of music that makes it makes cheese taste best, right, is hip hop. And they did several studies.
Wait a minute.
I swear.
I would think some kind of a French string music.
No, it's cool. I mean, and they tried everything from Bon Jovi to classical to no, I'm serious. But all the experts agreed across the board that was the best experience.
Hip hop.
I know. Crazy, huh? Now, it didn't say which specific hip hop, what song it was, and, how hardcore it was or not. But, that being said, there's a website now, and I think it's called Ingredient Pairing or Ingredient Pairs. I have to look it up. Dr. Kenneth Brown, he does the show on Thursdays, the Gut Check Project. And he came across this website, and they're pairing ingredients based on molecular structure. So these odd pairings that you get are actually sometimes how they work. You'd think it's because of juxtaposition or because they mimic each other from a flavor profile. Has nothing to do with it. It's actually the makeup and the actual physical structure of the molecules. And so you can pair these ingredients, and this is going to help chefs, just take things to the next level as far as designing the perfect meal. But then I thought, what if you put this all together with the right cocktail? Now, I just mentioned in the last segment, I don't know if you were listening, but if you took a house, you converted it to a restaurant, or you just had a restaurant with a bunch of small dining areas that were segregated like a room, and or separated as a room, sorry. But basically, you have a singular kitchen, but then you go in for course one, and maybe it's a light appetizer, whatever it happens to be, right? And then, but that appetizer, the decor, the music, and the beverage paired with it are all designed specifically for that one course. Then you vacate that room, you go to the next room for the second course, right? Maybe it's cheese or it's a soup. But the third one would be like maybe an amuse-bouche, where it's designed that way, but not only is the beverage and the beverage and food designed to be are paired together for this unique experience, but they're infused together in some molecular gastronomic, mouth bomb of flavor, like a rodeo in your mouth, as Trey Chapman would call it. Instead of going to Flavor Town like Guy Fieri, it's a rodeo in your mouth. I know. I'm like, what? I had to think about that for a minute.
Bronco.
But they do frozen drinks now with with CO2, liquid nitrogen, and you can incorporate this bite of food and this liquid beverage into one small bite, right? And then you go for the next course would be the main course, whatever the center of the plate protein is, and then a dessert course. And it's a different dining experience in a different room under different lighting with different music, and a perfect pairing every course instead of staying static. What? It's called a progressive dinner.
I've got a place like that.
Really?
I'm trying to find it online.
They already do it?
Fabulous chef. You're going to know who it is. The fabulous chef in Phoenix.
Really?
Binkley.
Oh, yeah.
Chef Binkley's place. My sister introduced us to his first place, which is a little bit out of town, one direction.
Mm-hmm.
And then he opened another place actually in Phoenix proper, on the outskirts of Phoenix, where they do that. It's maybe, I don't remember now, 10, 12 courses, but you start out outside on the patio. It's a house. It's just like what you're talking about.
Yep, it is a house. I know the venue. I know the venue. You know what?
It was spectacular.
Yeah.
And you move around. You start outside, then you move into the bar area, then you
Is there different music in every location?
Anteroom.
Is it different music in every location?
I don't remember now.
Okay.
But I remember the drinks were paired with that was optional. Not everybody likes to drink. I don't understand that. But there are people who don't. And you could get it with the foods and then add the pairings add onto it. You even got to spend some time in the kitchen to help prepare if you wanted, and then move into yet a different room for the dessert course. It was amazing.
Awesome. I mean, that sounds fantastic.
I don't know if he uses that molecular piece of it. We could ask him.
No, and that's okay. But I think, but I mean, I've seen kind of things like this. Is it Ariel in New York does? They kind of do the same thing, but you're static at the same counter. But you're kind of, they're not the. I guess they're the chefs. They actually assemble the course in front of you. It's fantastic. And then the bartender comes in. They concoct each craft cocktail or mocktail in front of you. Like they do this. I think a non-alcoholic rum that they make in house. It's awesome. It tastes just like rum. But
non-alcoholic rum. I want to find out about it.
I think that's what it was. I'll go back. I'll look at I saw a video the other night that I was looking at that somebody had posted on their story, and it's just a fantastic experience. It's like 15 courses, right? I mean, there are like I want to say there are 5 desserts or something like that, but they're all small bites, and one is like it's like crispy duck skin, like cracklins, but I mean it's just a straight rectangular sheet with just enough meat on one side to have texture, a different texture and flavor. And there's like this cream. It looks like sorbet, but it's not. This cream underneath it, and it's unbelievable.
Ooh.
It's scooped like a gelato though. And course after course, description after description, I just kept drooling more and more, while I eat my protein bar and, late night bowl of cereal as my dinner, or I get the street tacos from down the street, which are okay, but they're kind of salty for late at night eating. But,
This is funny. Uh-huh. When I went to Phoenix, I went with some girlfriends last time, a couple of years ago, and one of my friends loves to sit in the sun. So that's what we would do, for part of the afternoon, because that was her happy place.
Absolutely.
And one of my friends loved to hike. So we would get up in the morning, we would hike. That was their happy place, okay? I said, girls, we did what you wanted in the morning and what you didn't want to do in the afternoon. We're going to Binkley's, and we're going to have a gastronomic dinner. And they enjoyed, but they took one look at me. They said, Cheryl, this is your happy place.
I was thinking the nearest bar would have been mine. I'm thinking, I'm just going to the pool. Cocktails all around. Keep them coming. Pina coladas and anything with coconut. That's funny. So there's something. I love Arizona. I really do. I spent a lot of years living there, and most of my great friends are in Arizona or from Arizona. But one of the things, the sun in Arizona is so different. It really is. It feels different, doesn't it? It's it's like unfiltered and raw. And in the summertime, it takes just seconds to start to feel the effects on my skin. Like I'm a kind of a pasty white guy from upstate New York. What's funny is my dad is, he's part Native American, but I tan, but it takes me a while. But the rest of my family, they're all like, out in the sun 2 days, and they look like, when we moved to Arizona, my sister looked like she was from Mexico, and I looked like I was from Canada. After a couple months, that was funny. But
did we adopt him?
Exactly. Well, I had my druthers, but I looked too much like both parents. But, the sun is so. You said one of your friends like to sit in the sun. It is a different experience there, even in the wintertime or cooler months. But all right, hey, we're down.
And I don't go in the summer. I went once in the summer and said never again. So it's a great place to go from Chicago between, say, November and March.
So the first time you scar the back of your legs on the seat of your car, when you're wearing shorts and you didn't put the sunscreen up in the windshield, and you sit down, you're like, ow! And then you to get out of the car faster, you grab the steering wheel and you burn your hands. Your hands are like melted. You see the steam coming up and the smoke, and your hands are stuck to the steering wheel. Oh my gosh! And then you roll down the window to get it cooler, and you set your arm on the brake, the window frame, and it's like, and then that burns you.
Don't do that.
No, it's just, it's so hot. It's I'm telling you, it might be a dry heat. I don't care. 120 is 120. It's like,
and it's just getting hotter.
Oh, anyway, so hey, we got about 4 minutes left. We got to go into what are we drinking Saturday? Not to rush you or anything.
Right. Not at all. After you've had a couple of rye knots, we're going to try something different for Saturday. It's a little bit sweet, and it's the perfect. Just you want one little sweet thing before you go to bed. Try this drink. I'm calling it Black Cherry Slow Berry.
Oh man, this looks delicious. By the way,
slow gin.
Mm-hmm.
SLOE, it is good, and it's also, as I learned the hard way, when you make it at night, take the ice out and put it in the fridge. It's great the next morning.
Ooh, yummy. So hey,
I'm not encouraging that, but
I have a quick question, real quick. Slow gin. Yes. What is slow gin? Because I remember slow gin fizzes when I was a kid or young adult. You don't see that stuff on the menu anymore, but.
No, but it's making a comeback, and slow gin, it's not. It's made from slow berries, SLOE berries. So it's really, I don't even know why they call it a gin.
Maybe it's made the same way as gin?
Possibly. It doesn't. I should know exactly what's in it. It's got a very dark color. It's actually the same color as the black cherry. So you don't see the difference, and that's what makes it so much fun, because it feels like you're drinking almost a health drink. That black cherry stuff is good for you, high in antioxidants. But it's even more fun when you mix a little slow gin in there. It can get a little bit sweet, which is why when you see normally with a slow gin fizz, they're using the fuzzy, bubbly stuff to cut that sweetness. But I just threw a couple of dashes of Peychaud's bitters in there, and not a lot. You don't want a full tumbler of this stuff, but just enough to coat maybe the bottom of a cognac glass. It's terrific.
Nice. I love it.
That's what I think you can have on your Saturday evening after you had a great night out. Come home and have a little black cherry slow berry to wind up the evening.
Awesome. And Slow Gin has a very unique flavor too. It's not a bad flavor at all. I love anything dark cherry, sour cherry. Do you have choke cherries up in the Chicago area? You know what those are? Little tiny cherries?
I've heard of choke cherries. I think I might have tasted them in Michigan,
Mm-hmm.
but I haven't. Is it something that you'd actually be able to see and bring home, or something that's pressed into juice?
Okay, so yeah, it's typically you don't eat them. They're kind of they kind of make I don't know how to describe it. I was told never eat them as a child. They look like a smaller cherry. They're like they're a round berry. They have a pit in the middle just like a cherry does, but they're almost translucent. They're like a lighter colored red. And they look opaque-ish, like more translucent, where you can almost see through the skin, and the flesh inside is much lighter in color. But I was just curious. One of our sponsors, the Nostalgia Rice, SpoonyWildRice.com, they actually make a choke cherry syrup. And I was just curious. I remember I saw it in the box out there. I gave one bottle last week to one of the visitors in studio that was on the other channel, and I gave one guy something, and the other one took a bag of wild rice, I think. So, but I just it's really tasty. Again, I don't think you can really use the berries on their own. You can't eat them that way. But hey, we're about a minute out. You got a few seconds. You want to shout out to anybody or give yourself the plug? Where do we find you?
Give me the name of that choke. Give me that choke cherry syrup name one more time. I'm going to look that up.
It's Nostalgia Rice, but you can go to SpoonyWildRice.com. And you know what? Actually, I'll ask them if you want some of that. I can have it sent to you. I'm sure they'll send it because they're wonderful people. As a matter of fact, Jay and Lori are going to be in studio here on Monday. Hey, I got to wrap it up. Cheryl, you have a great...
Say hi from me. Happy weekend, everybody.
Thank you so much. You have a great weekend. And that's mixedmetaphors.com. Cheryl Heiser, thank you so much. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye. All right, that's it, folks. We're going to wrap it up. It's, 2 hours goes fast. I think I need a 3-hour show. Ron's over there going, dude, what the hell are you doing to me? What are you doing to me? No. Yeah, he doesn't care as long as I don't complain about he automates everything now. It's awesome. By the way, we got this new automation software. Ron is the man. Hey, Chef Patrick Mosher, the Food Biz Pro. Have a great weekend. Ciao for now. Remember, you are to eat. Be nice to yourselves. Take care.